A valiant effort in Kansas City as the Packers reached their roster of 53. Who were the winners and losers? But more importantly, the biggest shocks. It's time for the regular season, and the Bears are coming to town to kick off the 100th season next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Hey Packers fans, this is your unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, and these are the podcasters you're looking for. One of these guys, even though he's a huge fan of the Packers, he doesn't like bratwursts and wonders if that's wrong. And the other guy bangs the drum all day and thinks, touchdown. And now it's time to Go Pack Go with your hosts, Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinritz.
We sure appreciate you joining us on this episode of your Packers Fan Podcast. I'm Wayne Henderson, and this is the 159th edition, and it was recorded September 4th, 2018.
I'm Troy Heinritz, and it's going to be a great season of Packers football. I cannot wait for Sunday. It's going to be epic. Sunday night to open it up. It's going to be great. But first, we have to talk about what we liked and didn't from our final preseason loss to the Chiefs. We also have some news and injury updates as we get to that roster of 53. And the cards are dealt with one wild card added to the deck.
And we're going to preview Week 1 Bears at Packers, a real game to talk about here on the Packers Fan Podcast. We'll also have some final preseason NFC North notes and movies in Titletown. Plus, we're going to have your feedback from 920-3PACK-GO and some from email as well.
Any links or articles we reference in this episode can be found on our website over at PackersFanPodcast.com/159.
Now, let's dig into it and wrap up the preseason, as they say. You know, some of the things that we liked from this preseason finale, even though it was a loss to the Chiefs, for me, Geronimo.
Say Geronimo, say Geronimo.
Anytime we can get you to sing a few lines on the podcast, it's a good thing. But he was looking pretty good.
Yeah, I love the touchdown grab that he had.
Yes.
That first drive. That was really nice. Perfectly placed ball, only where Geronimo could catch it. So that is going to be our deep threat for this season. I can't wait to see him and Rodgers hooking up.
Just a few more days. Just a few more days.
Sadly, probably one of the brighter spots of the game is something that we won't be able to see for 3 weeks because Aaron Jones is suspended. But man, Aaron Jones, he was chunking up some yards in those 2 opening drives in Kansas City.
Oh, absolutely. And Week 3 is when he's expected back, right?
Correct. So we'll get through the 2 hard ones, and then that way it's smooth sailing the rest of the way.
Can't wait.
And it was great to see Trevor Davis returning punts again, doing what he does best. Almost broke one there towards the middle of the game. Really like seeing him out there, and hopefully things stay healthy and we're good to go.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up the high points for that preseason game. Or did you have some others that caught your eye?
Well, I did like, Boyle and Tanyan have been really connecting throughout the course of the preseason and in practices. I mean, Tanyan's been Boyle's kind of go-to, but there was one play where Boyle hit Tanyan in the end zone on that. I think it was like 5 to go on the goal line. And I just kind of was like, that looks like Rodgers to Graham all season long. I really, really liked that play where he just kind of broke through the line and just boom, the ball was there right as he hit the space. So that play was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think that they did a good job of showing us just a little bit to give us glimmers of hope and excitement, because we know Sunday night at Lambeau Field it's going to be lit, and whether it's Aaron Rodgers taking it to Jimmy Graham or who knows, someday Boyle to Tanyan, it's a great play, like you said. Just make it work.
I mean, there were some like head scratchers, of course, through the course of the game. It was early on in the game, but Yancey catching a pass and then not getting past the sticks. You got to be aware of where you are on the football field. And then Hawkins at the cornerback is completely useless in the secondary, getting beat numerous times. And then I thought the play calling at the end of the half was pretty conservative, considering, yes, we were on, the 10 with like a minute to go. But, man, open that crap up. It's the 4th preseason game. What do you got to lose? Let Boyle do his thing and throw that ball down the field.
Oh, I know. There's still some guys trying to make the roster and wanted to show off a bit. But I don't know. It just seemed like we wanted to get done. Just get her done and get ready for the regular season. I think they already knew what we were going to do.
which was pretty much the entire fourth quarter. The fourth quarter was, oh my gosh, just unbearable to watch because it was run the clock out, run the clock out, run the clock out.
Yeah. The sooner it ends, the sooner they can get ready for the regular season. And now it's over.
It's over. And that means we move on to the 53-man roster, which is still kind of fluid as we move into the season kicking off on Thursday night for the 2018 campaign of the NFL. And the big surprise, I think, coming out of this was the injury report.
Yes.
And how many that, and this is where it gets kind of creative, because if you're on the injured list before the 53-man cutdown, you're not eligible to play this year. If you go on the injured list after the cutdown at 53, you are eligible to return. And it just so happens that the shoulder that Kumaro tweaked in that Pittsburgh game isn't healing quite as they expected. So they are going to put him on the IR post 53 cutdown. So he legit made the team. And then now that he's on the IR, he will have to sit out until week 9 when he'll be eligible to return.
Oh my goodness. That's forever.
But he made the team, so we'll still get to get the Kumaro Uno.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe when he comes in week 9, he's just going to be there with a chip on his shoulder and ready to rock. And we're going to go, yes, we've missed you.
They did put Quentin Rollins on IR as well as Kyle Murphy from the line. So I knew that I said Kyle wasn't even going to make the team, but he's on IR, so out indefinitely. And then Oren Burks has been sidelined with a shoulder injury, so he's week to week now. But that's okay because we picked up some new people because of placing Kumaro on injured reserve. We were able to free up a roster spot then, and then we brought in Corey Toomer, who was a draft pick. I think it was 5th round or so back in 2012. So he's an up-and-comer looking for a fresh start. So hopefully Corey Toomer can contribute right out of the gate. Obviously, Cole Madison was also put on the IR, and then we have Aaron Jones and Kentrell Bryce, who are suspended and sidelined appropriately. Don't know much on Kentrell Bryce. It was reported as a leg issue, but and then Aaron Jones, like we mentioned, will come back in week 3 to be in the offense because the head scratchers in this one, Wayne. We normally talk about not keeping 3 quarterbacks if you are Mr. McCarthy, but this year he keeps Kaiser and Tim Boyle and decides to completely gut the backfield.
I'm not exactly sure what they were thinking, but they do have a plan. We just don't know what it is.
Yeah, because the biggest shock, I think, for all of us is that Ripkowski was released from the team. So at this point, there is no fullback.
That, in a way, is very sad that the fullback era in Green Bay could be over, at least for a while. I mean, who doesn't love to go, Rip?
I agree with you 100%, but it may just show the flexible changes that are happening or how they might be planning on leveraging these tight ends. Because if they have some tight ends that are blockers, maybe tight end becomes a fullback on a few plays. Or you get Randall Cobb and Wildcat situations, apparently. So there could be something interesting with Joe Philbin deciding, fullback, don't quite need him this year. But then we only had Ty Montgomery and Jamal Williams because Aaron Jones is out with a suspension. So Darius Jackson will be number 3 in case one of those two guys gets hurt in the first 2 weeks.
And don't even say it. Nobody's getting hurt. Nobody
else. Wide receivers landed pretty much how we expected. Adams, Cobb, Allison, Scantling, Jamon Moore, Trevor Davis, and EQ. Yes, Equiminius St. Brown made the team. And then Kumaro will rejoin us in week 9, where somebody would obviously have to be removed from the team in order to make that happen.
And I think week 9 might be when the Packers travel to New England to play the Patriots.
It could be. Then tight ends, Jimmy Graham, Mercedes Lewis, Lance Kendricks, and again, Robert Tonyan. Big surprise. They kept him on the team. So I hope that sticks. I thought Tonyan played pretty well. Better hands than Lance Kendricks had this preseason. So we'll see if that plays itself out accordingly. And then on the O-line, Bakhtiari, Balaga, Lindsey, Taylor, McCray, Spriggs, Byron Bell, Lucas Patrick makes it in there, and then Alex Light instead of Pankey. So I was off by one person there from last week's assessment.
But so far, so good.
So far, so good. Defensive line, Mike Daniels, Dean Lowry, Montrevious Adams, Kenny Clark, and Muhammad Wilkerson. No surprises there. Blake Martinez, Antonio Morrison, Crawford, and the injured Oren Burks for the inside linebackers. Now picking up Corey Toomer, as mentioned as well. Then Clay Matthews, Nick Perry, Reggie Gilbert, and Kyler Frackrell on the outside. So that's pretty much the same as last year. Vince Beagle getting the out.
Oh.
That was a big shock. So that's a draft pick bust right there. Then we had Kevin King, Tremont Williams, Jari Alexander, Josh Jackson, Devon House, and Herb Waters. Although I thought Herb was also sent his papers on Sunday. So, but I will have to check my sources because I thought maybe he made the 53, but then was released in order to make some room. But I'll have to double check that. Then Clinton Dix, Kentrell Bryce, Josh Jones, Jermaine Whitehead, and Raven Green are the safeties, along with Crosby, Scott, and long snapper Hunter Bradley. So,
sounds like a good team to me.
I think we're in pretty good shape. We'll just have to see how the ones all play together once we start putting together the real packages and deploying it against, of course, Khalil Mack in season 1. Yes, Khalil Mack coming to the Bears. That was some big news.
Is that guy just chasing the money?
No, it's the continued stupidity of the Chicago Bears to say we'll just overpay for a guy so nobody else can get him, like the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah. I mean, he would have done better to stay in Oakland and go to Vegas and have a chance if he's not going to come to the Packers. But, oh, well, hey, it is what it is.
If they want to lock up all their cash on one guy in Bears country, that is fine by me.
You know, that's a good point. That is a very good point.
Plus, we play him in week 1, so he'll be gassed. He's not in football shape yet.
Yeah, because he was holding out in Oakland, so he hasn't been in camp or anything.
Yeah, it'll be really, really great to see what happens in week 1. Can't wait. So excited. But before we get to listener feedback, you had a surprise guest appearance on another podcast.
Making the rounds, Troy, making the rounds. Yeah, after last week's episode, just a few days ago, the Aussie Guys NFL podcast, those guys are really amping up for the next season starting in just a couple of days, and they're covering all the teams and all the angles. And they wanted us back on to talk about the Green Bay Packers for their Packers episode that was out. I think now, because they're releasing so many so quickly, it's 3 episodes back. But if you want to hear even more Packers ravings from the madman known as Wayne, check out the Aussie Guys NFL podcast. We had a great time. Their co-host, G, was missing. My co-host, Troy, was missing. But we carried on. Go, Pack, go.
Go Pack, go indeed.
All right, let's dig in with listener feedback. The G-Force, you guys really brought it this week. We got 3 voicemails, and we've got some thoughts that we need to discuss. So jot down our number so that you can call us right after the Bears game. Give us a call at 920-3PACK-GO or go to PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback for the other ways that you can become part of the show.
Hey guys, it's Kim McKinney from the Texas Packers Fanatic page. I would just like to say that I think the pundits put too much emphasis on the preseason. I think our first 2 games were pretty good. The loss yesterday was our 3rd string, so if people get hurt, we may be in trouble, but I don't think they were pressing too much. I think the Packers are going to have a great season. Anyways, thanks for listening. Bye! And go Pack, go!
Go Pack, go indeed, Kim. Thank you so very much for giving us a call. And I totally agree that we're going to have a great season. But what do you think, Troy, about our thoughts saying, preseason might be overrated by the pundits a bit?
I don't think it's overrated at all. I really enjoy watching the up-and-comers and seeing who's going to make the team, especially like Kumaro had a great preseason. Kaiser, watching him drive those first 2 drives during the game. Those 2 drives were actually pretty spectacular, I have to admit, even for 3rd string, 4th string players. They were moving the offense pretty well, which means that when you have a real captain back there doing the offense, great things are going to happen this year. So I thought overall the first half of the game was great to watch. The second half of the game, you could have left it where it was.
But what happens if the NFL ever does adopt your 19-game season plan?
Then it means more great football to watch because there'll be less preseason to watch.
Hey, it's Andre in LA. As always, go Pack Go. Just calling because there's been so many trades in the past 24 hours for the Packers. I'm a little surprised we didn't get more for Huntley, a 6th-round pick. I thought we would get maybe at least a 4th-round pick, considering how he played last year and how he's looked so far in preseason. I'm curious to see, should we be worried that the Packers aren't really playing anybody for the preseason? Should we be worried about a slow start? As always, love the podcast. Green and gold to my dead and gold. Go Pack Go.
Yeah, on the Hundley side, I think we chatted about that a little bit last week. I mean, he did not play up to expectations where he had been in the preseason previously. So seeing what he was able to do there last year and then his rise, I think getting a 6th-rounder for him was actually pretty decent. I thought it might have been 7th round or worse. So I think we'll just take what we can get at this point because we do have 2 pretty solid backups. I know we had a little bit of an issue with some interceptions going on with Mr. Boyle during that Kansas City game, but I think that's also because you had like the 4-string receivers running routes and all of that other stuff comes into play and some nerves. So, but overall, I thought Tim Boyle had a pretty decent preseason that earned him a spot. So I think overall, I wouldn't worry too much about the ones not playing as much of the preseason. These guys are professionals, football shape. They show up, they pass the physicals, they get in the work. They clearly executed when Aaron was in there on that second game. Got down there, scored touchdown, boom, done. See you later. So I think we'll be fine. Don't worry. It's the Bears.
And we made it out of there without any major new injuries in the preseason.
Yeah. I mean, to only have that one, right? The only big one, which of course Ryan going down. That one did hurt, but I think we did a pretty good job with the front office doing what they do, magic, moving some people around, filling in those spots, and I think we have capable people in the middle linebackers, and it showed. I think for the most part we had pretty contained run defense during the Kansas City game.
Yeah, but at the same time, I do agree and see where Andre's coming from, thinking that, after all the time and money we invested in Brett Hundley, that all we got was that draft pick back for him. Like you said, we had to just cut our losses. I guess that's one of the, what do they call that? A sunk cost bias. I just kept thinking we'd get more because we invested so much, but we got something, and who knows what magic may come from that pick in the future.
Yeah, totally better to get the pick than not get anything at all, because if his contract was up and we didn't want to re-sign him, then you're out. Then you got nothing. So at least we got something.
There you go. And if Goody works his magic next year in the draft like this year, who knows what we may parlay that into.
Hey, Wayne and Troy, this is Rick Snorty calling from Wisconsin, and I don't have anything to say about the game because I'm calling kind of between games after listening to your latest podcast. A couple things you mentioned on there made me want to call. First was fantasy football. We had our draft this past Saturday, and I have Aaron Rodgers, and I also took Jimmy Graham. And afterward, the NFL fantasy site sent me an email saying I had a rating of a A grade and a predicted finish of 13-1. So that's pretty nice. I hope it turns out that way. But secondly, the menu you mentioned was interesting to me. I may have to go up there just to try one of those brats with the cheese curd. But I just watched a video on Facebook a couple days ago about a restaurant in New York that actually makes a cheese curd blanket on the grill and then drapes it over the burger so that you have a cheese curd burger. I guess they're the only place in the country right now making it. But that might be worth traveling to get as well. And thirdly, not much of a singer, but it's never too early to say the Bears still suck. So have a great one. Go Pack, go.
Rick, thanks so much. Now I got to get back out to New York and get a cheese curd burger. That sounds amazing.
And when the weather gets cold, I was thinking a cheese curd blanket would be awfully toasty for yourself, not just for your burger.
Keeps you warm and fed at the same time.
Hey, multitasking right there. Rick, so good to hear from you again, and congratulations on the great grade in your draft. Here's to getting that type of record, and here's to the Packers even surpassing that type of record.
Yeah, if that's any indication, that would be fantastic to go 13-1 on the season. I'll take that any day of the week.
For sure.
Well, then we had an email from Steven coming in from Palos Park, and he says, the Chicago Bears still, well, you know, the regular season's finally here, and 2 days before the season and home opener is my birthday. Happy birthday, Steven. It'll be great to see my birthday weekend is complete with a Packers victory over the Chicago Bears, as the Chicago Bears will be coming into the game with new head coach Matt Nagy, who will be coaching his first ever real game as a head coach. But before I can get ahead of myself, I have to mention the Kansas City Chiefs game, and I'm not happy with what I saw. A game that we couldn't even beat the Chiefs. Come on, Wayne and Troy, did you jinx the Green Bay Packers by mentioning in the dope sheets that if the Packers win, that it'll be the fourth of the last 5 years they won at least 3 games in the preseason?
Oh, no.
Yeah, that did not happen.
Next year.
It's always great that you can have the fans' feedback on the podcast, whether phone, message, or email. You two are killing me with the talk about food menu at Lambeau, though, including Wayne's reaction to cheese curds on a brat sandwich. I bet Wayne still thinks that you made up the sandwich. So do we have to find a way to get Wayne to Green Bay to attend a Packers game this season so he could try out the sandwich and give us his review? Wayne, what will you do if the Packers don't go 19-0 this season?
Well,
let me know, Steven.
Steven, thanks for the email. And yes, I'd love to be able to go to Lambeau this year and try that sandwich out myself. And I will give a full review, but I probably won't make it to Lambeau till the next season. But, 19-0 is still on the board at this particular point. What will I do if we don't go 19-0?
The same thing we do every year, Wayne. Try to take over the world.
And still make plans to go watch the Packers in the Super Bowl.
Yes, every year. Every year.
It'll happen.
Someday.
It'll happen. We also got an email from Caleb saying, hey, Wayne and Troy, Caleb Fisher and Lorna LaPointe here. We just wanted to say how horrible the game was against the Chiefs, where I couldn't believe how terrible our defense looked. Yeah. Preseason. Sorry, Caleb. I mean, I know it was preseason, but we would at least love to have had to seen a point in the second half. But at least now that it's regular season, it's time to go bear hunting. And we can't wait to finally say it's Packer season. And we hope that it will lead us to the Super Bowl. And always remember, the Bears still, and go, Pack, go. Bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Caleb Fisher. Thank you so very much, Caleb.
It's always great to hear from everybody.
Yes.
And you can even leave comments and suggestions over at Packers Fan Pod on Twitter. And, of course, PackersCommunity.com. Now that the games are starting up, go ahead and jump in there while you watch the game, and you can chat along with a whole bunch of people over there in PackersCommunity.com.
Oh, I like the sound of that. And we have this week's Twitter and Facebook community poll, which will now be moving to Monday now that the regular season is finally here. But this week we did say, now that the preseason is mercifully over, how are you feeling about your Packers as we go into week 1 of the regular season? And no big surprises here. 80% of the people that voted on Twitter and in the Facebook community group said they are ready. Go, Pack, go. 13% said feeling a bit better now than they did before. And 7% said not sure, kind of nervous.
Those are probably Bears fans that responded.
They better be nervous, those Bears fans. Tee-hee. Also, while you're there at the Packers Community Facebook group at PackersCommunity.com, there's more great discussions, including a lot of chatter about Khalil Mack, some NFC North tidbits, even a Brett Favre sighting, and more, all at PackersCommunity.com.
Well, I am super excited that we have our first ever classic Willywood $24 a month supporter. Yes, Bryant took the initiative, just like Willie Wood did. When Wood was not selected in the 1960 NFL draft, he wrote a letter to head coach Vince Lombardi to request a tryout, and the rest is history. Bryant, thank you so much for taking the bold initiative as well. We'll be reaching out to you because Bryant will be able to say the Go Pack Go to close out the podcast. Plus, Bryant gets an awesome Packers Fan Podcast shirt that he can wear on game day or any day for that matter. So if you want to be like Bryant, get a shirt, say Go Pack Go, just pick us up at the $24 Willie Wood level. That would be fantastic because other people are one-upping their game just like Aaron Rodgers will this season because he is our $12 monthly support level, and the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics have moved up the ranks. They're coming in hot with their $12 support. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate you. And also, you will have the opportunity to close out the show. So as of right now, the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics and Bryant will be alternating our Go Pack Goes every week throughout the rest of the season.
So very awesome. Thank you so much for your support. And at the Brett Favre Classic $4 a month level, we have Jeff Summerfield helping out the show and the $4 a month pledge dedicated to lifelong Packer backer Randy Westgame of Wausau. Have you been to Wausau, Troy?
I have been to Wausau.
Oh, okay. Well, I need that on my list as well when I go up there to get cheese curd blankets and covered sandwiches. Also, Go Pack Goes for the Curly Lambeau $1 a month supporters. Hank Davis from the TPE network of podcasts. Aaron Peterson from the Hollywood Outsider. And Velvet Eau Claire. Thank you very much for helping support the show, making it better than ever.
Always better because of your support. Thank you so much. Head on over to patreon.com. That's Patreon. Patreon.com/Packers Fan Podcast. That will help you get us some more dollars so that we can make the show even better and get up to our goal. That's right. We do want to do live post-game coverage, but we can't make that happen unless we reach our goal. So head on over to PackersFanPodcast.com/support. That gets you there as well. And we will get hopefully to that goal before mid-season. That would be fantastic. And then we can do post-show call-in stuff. That would be amazing. Amazing to hang out with all of you.
That will be awesome when that happens. Thanks again to Hank, Aaron, the Texas-only Green Bay Packer fanatics, Bryant, Randy, Jeff, and Velvet for your awesome support of the show. And Go Pack Go back at ya.
And going around the NFC North as we wrap up the preseason, Matt Castle or Jake Rudock, that was the big focus in the Lions' final preseason game. Where Rudock looked a bit more solid, Castle still performed admirably in the tougher situations, so ultimately he won the backup job. Now, granted, Castle shouldn't play at all, and with Rudock not in the mix, the fourth quarter comeback kids may not be in the picture this year either.
Wah, wah.
Khalil Mack came to the Bears. That's all we need to say about the Bears because we'll talk more about them in our keys to the game coming up. But the Vikings, the Deadspin article that we found in the show notes pretty much sums it up. It's written actually by a Vikings fan that agrees the team is a hot pile of ticking time bomb garbage. And personally, I can't wait to kick their butts in week 2 and watch that victory live. So we will link to the deadspin.com Why Your Team Sucks 2018 Minnesota Vikings article in our show notes at PackersFanPodcast.com/159. Highly recommend you click on that link and read that article. It's pretty fantabulous.
And supposedly written by a Vikings quote-unquote fan. That makes it even better.
It was written by a Vikings fan. Yes, it was.
That makes it even better. And since we last spoke, we also got a new review of the podcast in iTunes from DeAndre in the USA saying, wow, I really want to thank you both for keeping me updated. I love Green Bay. I'm a real deal ride or die fan. Now I know of this podcast and listen and can play the NFL Madden Mobile Drive Overdrive at the same time, listen to updates and more about the Green Bay Packers. Plus, I don't have cable now, but I now can know how my team is doing thanks to y'all. So thanks for a wonderful podcast. And DeAndre, thank you so much for the great review in iTunes. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. You can do that right from your iPhone. So just go to Apple Podcasts, the little purple icon, leave us a review, or you can do it on iTunes on the desktop. That would be fantastic. Well, in other news around the Packers nation, the Packers are home for the first 2 weeks of the season, and there's nothing better than a weekend in the frozen tundra, especially when it's not frozen. So you don't need your cheese curd blanket.
Oh, good. I can eat it instead.
That's right. So to capitalize on the brand new Titletown district and the beautiful space on Aaron's Hill, Friday nights at dusk, they will be showing movies at Titletown. So Friday, September 7th, during Bears kickoff weekend, you can bring your voice as you'll sing along to the Beauty and the Beast sing-along soundtrack and movie. And then next week before the Minnesota game, you could come on Friday early for the weekend and get a screening of Wonder Woman. So the Hills open up approximately at 5:30 p.m. for the shows that will start at 7 p.m. So if you are making a weekend of it up there in Titletown, then check out A Flick Under the Stars. Full details on shows and times can be found in the show notes over at PackersFanPodcast.com/159. Also, because this is the first game of the season, want to give you a quick reminder for those that are coming to the game about the procedures and security up there at Lambeau Field. As a reminder, firearms and other weapons, bags, backpacks, coolers, strollers, umbrellas, duffel bags, large purses, fanny packs, obstructive banners, and signs are all strictly prohibited. No. As are food and beverages, noisemakers of any kind, selfie sticks, video cameras, and still photo cameras with lenses over 12 inches. So basically, leave your crap at home, people.
Yeah, I would say common sense would dictate a lot of those things.
Fans will be allowed to carry in a clear bag that does not exceed 12 by 6 by 12 inches. That is equivalent to a 1-gallon clear plastic bag that you put your food in the freezer. Additional clothing, blankets, etc. will be allowed if carried in loosely or in an approved clear bag. A small clutch purse the size of a woman's hand, measuring no larger than 4.5 by 6.5 inches, will be permitted, but subject to search. Small cameras, binoculars, and cell phones are acceptable if carried in loosely or in the approved clear bag. Traditional stadium seats with backs and seat pads are permitted as long as they do not exceed 18 inches wide and contain no pockets, zippers, or concealable areas. Oversized seats and or seats with armrests or other attachments are not allowed. Prohibited items must be returned to your vehicle or they will be confiscated and discarded. Now, recently, Wisconsin did have a concealed carry law that went into effect, and the Packers, as occupant of Lambeau Field, will continue our no weapons policy and prohibit carrying firearms or other weapons on the property, including the parking lot. That's important, people, because the parking lot has expanded. So no firearms in the parking lot, no firearms in the game, even though it is a concealed carry state. And if you need more information, details, and all that can be found in the show notes at PackersFanPodcast.com/159.
Common sense and good stuff. But we'll link to it at PackersFanPodcast.com/159. Now,
I've been waiting for this all week because it is Bears week. And because it's Bears week, Wayne, I give to you the floor for the most amazing thing.
We've heard a lot of Troy Heinrich's American Idol auditions, and although I can't sing, I've been warming up. Maybe my moo, maybe my moo. It's Bears week. It's finally Packers Bears week. The Pack are back, and we don't need luck. We're going to win the game, and the Bears still, well, you know, because it's Bears week. It's Packers Bears week. Go, Pack, go.
Love it. Love it. That's good.
Sorry. Based on a classic.
All right, with that, first and foremost, the absence of Aaron Jones will be felt in the contest against the Bears as we move into our keys to the game. But that may be okay because he would be running into a hole most likely plugged by one Khalil Mack. Yes, the Bears spent their entire future to bring Khalil to the team, if for no other reason to avoid the Bears fans' insufferable whining had the Packers landed the deal. So the O-line will have a good test in week one. On the other hand, maybe running at Mack is a great idea since he is not in football shape, having held out most of the preseason. So the big keys, of course, are contain the run game. Jordan Howard may not be a Gurley or a Bell, but he is the heart of the Bears offense, and holding Howard and the Bears to under 100 yards rushing would be a big statement for Mike Pettine's new defense. Last season, the Packers were over 60% in the red zone conversions. This season, with Joe Philbin's moxie, let's hope this number rises. We cannot afford to walk away from the red zone with just field goals. So every red zone opportunity needs to be a touchdown or bust this week to set a tone for the 2018 season. Next, we got to convert on third and short consistently. Don't look for the long ball or a big gainer. Just move the chains and run the clock. If we can set the tempo and control early, we should not have a problem taking down the Bears. Also, own the turnover differential. This is the chance for the cornerbacks to shine. we should basically be 2-1 on turnovers, which means 2 in our favor for every one of theirs. But get our 2 first, and then just don't let the other one happen.
I like that. In fact, let's go for 10-1. Now, you think Khalil's going to play after just being in Chicago for 2-3 days?
He might. I mean, if they get a hold of Phil, get him out there and play. He's a professional.
Professional that was holding out, but we'll see. No matter. We can finally really say that we are ready for some football, and the official Packers dope sheet for the Week 1 Bears at Packers matchup will be linked, as always, at PackersFanPodcast.com/159. The headline, check this out, Packers host Bears to kick off the season. Get it? Kickoff? Mm-hmm. Some of the highlights in there, because this is Packers Bears. Sunday will mark game number 197 in the NFL's oldest rivalry. And now, thanks to last year, the Packers hold a 96-94 with 6 ties. We hold the edge in the series, which includes 2 playoff games. And we're not giving that edge back, Troy.
No way.
No, not at this point. The division rivals square off in a prime time contest. Unless you're some of our friends in Australia and Europe, it's not prime time. We are squaring off in prime time for the 13th consecutive season, tied with the Dallas versus New York Giants for the longest current streak. And it's the first time since 2009 that Green Bay has opened the season at Lambeau Field against Chicago. And, love this, the Packers have won 8 of the last 10 meetings against the Bears at Lambeau Field, including a 35-14 victory last season in Week 4. Can I get a go? Pack, go.
Go, Pack, go.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Notable connections. Green Bay special teams coordinator Ron Zook was the head coach at the University of Illinois from 2005 to 2011. Green Bay defensive line coach Jerry Montgomery played for the Chicago Rush of the Arena Football League. Did you ever make it to an arena game?
I was at the Milwaukee Mustangs' first ever victory.
Ooh, put me in my place. I want to see the Milwaukee Mustangs and travel back in time and watch Reggie White with the USFL.
I don't think the Milwaukee Mustangs exist anymore.
Well, either does the USFL. But we are getting the XFL and the AAFL. But back to the dope sheet. Packers wide receiver Geronimo Allison and linebacker James Crawford played at Illinois. And again, the full official Green Bay Packers dope sheet, which is chock full of news and notes and information, will be linked at PackersFanPodcast.com/159.
Ooh.
It is time. Yes, it is time because
real pressure now because this one actually has to count.
Yeah, because last week, Packers Chiefs, 1, it was preseason, and 2, after that previous game in Oakland, who knew what was going to go on?
I'm going to say 28-21.
28-21? Packers with 28, right?
If you say so. Of course, Packers 28.
You're scaring everybody. Okay, so Packers win 28-21. I'm going similar. It just, even though we want to have a fast start, I think it's going to be a little bit slow. I'm going to say the Packers 24, but we win. And the Bears only get 13.
Whoa, that's 11 points.
Yes,
that's
it is.
Tall order on opening weekend.
Sunday Night Football, no worries.
All right. It's going to be nice up there, though. Little clouds, 63 degrees, no more humidity, no more sun. Getting to be fall weather, which is perfect for Packer football.
Sign me up, Troy. It's going to look so good to have. I mean, we get to see the Packers on TV twice in a row, right? The Vikings at Packers game is like the game of the week or something, right?
I'm sure it will be. Yeah, absolutely.
It should be.
Well, that'll do it for this week as we get ready for the season to kick off. The Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers. However, this season would be a great time to make that happen as we move into our eighth season here at the Packers Fan Podcast. That's media at PackersFanPodcast.com if you know anybody that can help that out.
Thank you. All season long, follow us on Twitter at PackersFanPod and follow me on Twitter at Wayne Henderson and follow you on Twitter at
Troy Heinrichs. And join our Packers Fan Podcast community so you can chat during the game, after the game, hang out with some real great Packers fans. Again, PackersCommunity.com. Enjoy the conversation.
And now that the regular season is upon us, we really want to have your feedback for upcoming episodes of the podcast. So go to PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback to find out how you can let your voice be heard. But we'll be back next week to talk about a huge victory over the Bears. But until then, thanks for listening to this week's Packers Fan Podcast.
Be sure to subscribe for future episodes in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and we are excited that we will feature the good friends at the Texas-only Green Bay Packers Fanatics and Brian to close out our show once we get those recorded. So until then, I'll cheer on their behalf. That's right. It's Bears Week, people. Go, Pat, go!